maybe if I don't break the seal, I won't.
No, it's worse. I don't trust. As someone who spent all the first 3 seasons coughing, it is not good to hold it in.
What lights you up? Starseeds are souls on a double mission to raise their own consciousness and the consciousness of the planet. No big deal. They are old souls who have incarnated elsewhere beyond this planet. Many starseeds arrive with a feeling that time is running out and there is something that they came here to do or create or contribute. If you pulled this card, it is to confirm that you are a starseed. You are being encouraged to answer the call, to follow what lights you up. Once awake, most starseed souls find it hard to have meaningless conversations, jobs, and relationships. Deep breaths. They innately know that there is much more to life and feel that there is something more and get to work. They remain restless until they step into their calling, which is to light up the world with their unique presence. Starseeds are scattered all over the planet, in hospitals and schools, in slums and mansions, on stages and in edit suites, in parks and nightclubs, in taxis and theme parks, or right here in Portland, Oregon. Many starseeds spend parts of their lives trying to fit in or in some form of spiritual closet. If you are dimming your light to fit in, it is time that you stop and start embracing the unique light that you came here to share and treat your time on Earth like a glorious vacation. What lights you up?
Oh my God, you know what that makes me think of? Like thinking of Earth's experience as a glorious vacation. It's like the vacations that are an adventure versus a vacation.
Oh,
right? Like, you know, when you go away and you go to a new city and you're like, I have to see all the sights and I got to do all the hikes and I got to do like this and that. And then you get home and you're like, I need a vacation from my vacation.
Yes.
That's fucking Earth.
Fucking right. Whatever, algorithm. First off, I want to acknowledge this beautiful candle holder that our biggest fan gifted me for my birthday.
It's so cute. Well,
she just texted and said, drinking good wine for sure. Because she's in Lake O right now. I saw her location. I was like, okay, Lake O ho, what you doing?
Honestly, I feel like that's what I want right now. Is a good glass of wine.
Because it's so cold.
It's cold. It's been a long week. And I'm like, I just need a glass of wine. And I don't be drinking, really.
No.
So, well, anyway, welcome to Frequency Broads. You can see where we're at today. Welcome to Frequency Broads. We're happy that you're back. I'm Tara and this is Victoria. And I guess we already got kind of into it a little bit. But let's start with a freak check as always.
I'm like, it's 7 o'clock on the dot. It's Friday night and there's nowhere else I would rather be than with you recording episodes. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe who knows what will come out tonight.
Maybe none. No. Yeah, I know. I hope at least 1.
I'm feeling really inspired and encouraged. You know, putting yourself on the internet is weird and not easy. And you kind of go through a lot of emotions and feels and ego and like confidence and assessing a lot of things. And I stepped into a dispensary yesterday, naturally. And this girl stops and she's like, wait, I know you. And she's like, I know your voice and like your mannerism and your smile. And she's like, I swear I've like had a 20-minute conversation with you before. And I'm like, well, I do tend to just like have really in-depth conversations at parties. And so I was like, okay, it's Portland. How do I know you? running through the list. She's like, do you go to Orange Theory? I'm like, nah.
Nah.
I'm like, I'm out of breath just saying the words. She then asked me if I go axe throwing, and I'm like, whew, it's probably for the best that I don't. And then I was like, oh, I have a podcast with my girlie Tara. And she's like, wait. And I like pulled up our Instagram and she's like, I know you.
Oh.
I know you got, I know this font. I know. And I was, and my whole body lit up with goosebumps because, you know, if you haven't liked, shared, subscribed, at least subscribed and liked.
And share.
Do one of them. I don't know.
Please. That'd be nice.
We're all everyone's lives are like falling apart in one way or another. So like it might be therapeutic to do that. Share the love. And it just like got all the, like the dispensary workers being like, oh, what's it called? What's it about? And then I was like, do you want a sticker? So long story short, if you're in Portland or Tara's going to be going home to New York soon, if you see us, stop us. We'd love to hug you, give you a sticker, and just say, what up? So feeling good, feeling seen in a way I just was not expecting to feel seen.
And I was so excited to hear that too, because as anyone who's ever made anything, not even just content, anything in general, you know that you're pretty much putting it out to a black hole, the void, the nothingness. And like just that small little recognition. Another little thing was one of my friend Alex, he sent me his like top podcast for his rap. And I was like, okay, Frequency Bros.
Yes.
Like, so Alex, shout out. We love you.
Thank you, Alex.
So just like really those small moments mean so much to us to know that you're listening, to know even if it doesn't resonate and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I listened. It just makes our heart so happy because sometimes it does feel like we're talking to no one, to be honest. And we don't do it for anything other than wanting to reach people who it resonates with and for us to like have this cathartic moment ourselves. So we appreciate those who do listen because it's not just for you, it's for us. And I love that we're in this space together. So thank you for being with us. I hope we were on your Wrapped.
Yeah. Thank you, Spotify. Thank you, Apple. Thank you, YouTube. Oh, randomly. And I know you're taking a break from social media, which it'd be interesting to talk about in a moment.
Talk about that.
Two of my besties who haven't met each other yet, but they know of each other, which is always interesting because I'm like, show me how much you love me, right? Like, but I also am like, I feel like you two are going to love each other so much once you meet. They both posted on like their Instagram stories something about the abyss, screaming, staring into the abyss, which aka pretty much the void, right? So I'm like, okay, I feel like this is the season of the abyss, the season of the void, and to have so much light and like what lights you up, right? And to be the light in the void, in the abyss is pretty damn cool.
It is. And I feel like it's such a duality that this season is because it does feel like the void. Like I said in my bonus episode, the time of no time.
Yeah.
And yet it seems like so much is happening and so much is being downloaded and shifted during the age of Aquarius. And so it's this duality of nothingness and everything at once. And it's an interesting space to be in. And also, if you're out here connecting with us about your experience listening to us, I want to know how this season is resonating because as much as we like to do it as close to publish day or, you know, whenever it comes out as possible, there's also obviously a lot behind the scenes and that's not always the case. So it's interesting to be talking about these things when it comes out weeks later and just seeing how it resonates with you is always nice to hear. So do a little click comment below and let us know how these are sitting with you, whether it be like, yes, this is resonating so much, or damn, I was feeling that way a couple weeks ago, or if it happens weeks from now. Always really interesting to explore. And even for myself to do a little freak check on my end here. Seeing myself in this process week by week, recording by recording, how I'm changing with the energy and how I'm changing how I express it. And hilarious to me that at the end of episode 2, I'm like, how could I be a villain? And then episode 3, I was like, I'm a villain and I'm ready to take everybody down. And now it's like an integrated villain to a sense. So a little bit about my freak check, how I've been feeling is, so I had that week of just like rage, just like I could not stand those who were just like in dissonance with me. It was so jarring to my energy that it made me like my nervous system really activated. And then the following week, I was like, whoa, that was kind of crazy, right? Granted, we will put it out there that it was like quitting nicotine that week too. So I think that definitely played into the anger a bit.
And PMSing.
And PMSing. Yeah, there was a lot going on that week. So then the following week, it was like, oh, maybe I'm not in my villain era. And then this week, because it took us a little bit to get to recording between schedules and sickness and technical. But this week, I'm realizing there's an importance to this quote unquote villain era in the sense of, which is going to segue me into what we talk about today, in the sense of just boundaries, standing up for yourself, being firm, and ultimately respecting yourself in a way that is not disrespectful to others. And that's what I realized with this villain era. I'm like, I teeter-totter back into, and I've always seen myself as an all or nothing kind of person. I'm either like fully this or fully that, or with it or not, or whatever. And I obviously know there's nuance and I go with the flow, but even with this villain era, it was like, I can't imagine being a villain, and like, no, now I can't take any of this. And it's really hard because this week I was faced with a situation of repeated patterns where, to be respectful of all of those involved, I am the person that people come to. Mm-hmm. And I've spoken about it this season already where I'm like, no, I'm just trying to stay in my lane and I'm trying to let you learn what you need to learn. And it was easy when no one was asking for help, when I was like, I just need to sit back. But when people are asking for help, it is so hard for me to stay in my lane. And that's where I start crossing the line of disrespect for myself, because I'm not respecting my time or energy, because I'm putting my needs on the back burner because this person needs me. And so this is where this quote unquote villain era, I think, is really coming in for me, is like, people may think I'm a villain when I'm going to turn around and just say, you know what? I am so sorry, but I actually can't be that person for you. But just really thinking about it being reciprocal. And this episode, we want to talk a lot about respect. And I think when we want to respect ourselves, and being on this spectrum of high regard for self, low regard for self, versus high regard for others, low regard for others, it has to be a balance for how much you respect and honor yourself as much as you respect those around you. Mm-hmm. We're not here putting our ego first and saying it's my way or the highway. And we're not being passive and letting other people walk all over us because they need something from us. It has to be reciprocal. It has to be respected, because when you have allyship through respect and reciprocity, the power and co-creation you can do is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But when someone is draining the other, or if you're draining yourself for the sake of someone else, all it leads is to depletion for both parties. Mm-hmm. So this is where my villain era is right now, is this concept of like, how can I be okay with people viewing me poorly because in respect to myself, I'm creating a boundary? Or do I always need to be the hero and the helpful hand and be seen in this positive light? And the all or nothing comes in, because it's either like, yes, I want people to like come to me for help, or like, I don't freaking care. I don't need you, right? And it's like there's a balance. I can say like, no, I do care. I have high regard for you. I do care and respect you, but I also respect myself. And if it can't be reciprocal and honor both of our energies, then it's just not going to work out.
Of course, synchronistically enough, I'm like I was listening to a YouTube video this morning from Matt Kahn and his lovely wife, Joy, and they were talking about how kindness is a one-way transaction. And here's the thing, we're taught manners, we're taught respect, and that has a different meaning to everyone. And then somewhere along the line, it was never really fully digested that we cannot expect people to treat us the way that we are treating them. We cannot place that expectation. The whole treat others how you would want to be treated does not mean when you treat someone the way you want them to treat you, that they're going to treat you that way. And that is like the biggest, right? And that just because you're being kind to someone does not mean they're going to be kind to you, nor do they have the responsibility to be kind, because it's up to them. And letting go of that expectation is so liberating. It is one of the most beautiful acts of detachment I think I've ever really like sunk into. And now I'm starting to really focus my energy on right now. Because I'm a really good person. I'm a really present, loving, there for my people, as you are too. And that's why it's really important that we have people in our lives who are innately like that. Not that we have to train or program. We can't program other people. Period.
And that's the most frustrating thing about understanding that reciprocity is a choice. It's not automatic. The concept of treat people the way you want to be treated. We're not saying that we shouldn't be doing that. Absolutely be doing that. Yeah. Treat people with kindness. Treat people with compassion, because that's going to open the doorway for them to see that there's an option for compassion. However, we cannot, like you were saying, be attached to how people then respond to us. It's something I teach the kids all the time, especially when we're talking about communication. Oh, funny, that's the other card. Especially when we're talking about communication. I basically tell them, when you're learning SEL, social emotional learning, you become like a master of your reality. You can basically get what you want and create what you want if you just know how to communicate properly. It's not a guarantee. We're not like stealing or manipulating. But if I can ask clearly enough and respectfully enough, I'm more likely to get it. And no matter what age, no matter how deep they are in their understanding of self, they always ask the same thing or bring up the same thing. Well, I try to use the right tone, and I'm asking kindly, but the person always yells at me anyway. And I say, that's the tough part. You could be the best communicator in the world, but that does not mean the person on the other side is. And the reason we lean in with compassion is to go, okay, maybe you don't have the skill yet. Maybe you don't know. Maybe we don't accept it necessarily. We don't say it's okay, but I can have empathy for it. And I can say, oh gosh, okay, you don't know how to communicate. Depending on the age, obviously, if I'm talking to children, they can learn. I think anyone can learn, but it's a lot harder because you have to choose to want to learn when you're older, or choose to reprogram. But
be really vulnerable in saying, like, I messed up. I'm trying, but this is really hard for me. And you have to stop in the moment, and you have to like break out of your normal way of doing things, which everyone seems to be breaking out of their paradigm. And I can't, we'll get to that.
And I think it boils down to self-respect in that regard.
Yes.
Because you're respecting what you want, but you're also respecting yourself enough to say like, hey, I did make a mistake and I know that I'm better than that. And not in a judgmental way, but being vulnerable enough to be like, oh, the amount of times that something comes out of my mouth and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't even know what the hell that was. Not even in a mean way, usually in just like a untrue fact, you know? And immediately when it comes out of my mouth, I'm always like, that's 100% false. And people are like, why'd you say it? And I'm like, I am still practicing not processing out loud. I'm still practicing that moment of pause and really think about what you're going to say before you say it. And by being vulnerable enough to say it out loud, hold on, I didn't mean to say it that way. Before the other person brings it up. Well, is that true? Oh, well, you said it so mean. Oh, well, did you mean it that way? Like before other people even have the chance to try to interpret what you're saying, have the self-respect enough to go, that's not who I am. And that's not how I want to present myself to the world. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable and say, hey, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to do that. Now it's out there and it's done. And you have to take accountability for that regardless of your intention. But it's still about having the self-respect to own up to your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to give others the model for them to go, oh, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to catch myself now.
Yeah.
And it starts with self-reflection at the end of the day, at the end of the week. And then soon it'll be self-reflection after a couple hours. And soon it'll be self-reflection in real time. And soon it'll happen before it even comes out of your mouth. But if you don't allow yourself to, I don't want to say have high expectations for yourself.
Here's what I'm getting for like the two major themes for Master of Reality. It takes acceptance of your current reality and then detachment from everyone else's reality.
Yes. Yes. Because you need to be able to control what you want and how you're going to move through the world to create that. And if that makes you look like, in my case, a villain to others, if you're not doing it with harm, but people are perceiving it with harm, and you take accountability for that and say, you know, like, I'm sorry that I came off that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I didn't mean to hurt you and I respect you and I want to work on that. But ultimately, setting those boundaries and having that acceptance of this is what I need, regardless of what you want from me. I need space. I need time. I need a break from certain people.
I also want to take a second to acknowledge the word master and its meaning, and that I work in corporate and master templates, right? Or master sheets or master, like that appears everywhere and it really triggers me. And also like master bedroom, you know, we've changed it to primary bedroom. And so I've tried to find another way to say master, but when it comes to Master of Reality, there's so many definitions or meanings to one word, right? And this is one of them where let's come up with it. We'll come up with a new word for it, but for right now, acknowledging this has nothing to do with slave owners or anyone who thinks that they have control over another human being, which is quite ironic, right? Since we are literally preaching the sovereignty of the people. So just be mindful of the words and what they mean today. I don't know if you have anything else you want to share about.
No, I think that's beautifully said.
But now I have the Metallica song stuck in my head where they're like, Master.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it does relate even to our topic of respect, right?
Totally.
Because there may be some people out there that are just like, oh, well, it's just a word.
Yeah.
And all it takes is 2 seconds for us to acknowledge and respect the perspective of someone else without being attached to it. So it's so nuanced in this duality that we experience. And it's understanding that I need to be detached from your reality because you're experiencing your own thing, but I also need to be respectful of your reality and your perspective and your You know, it's like what I said, I don't remember what episode, but when you're trying to force someone to change their views, all they're going to do is hunker down. So similarly, in like all it takes is a few seconds to just pay respect to the language that we're using and saying, you know what, right now I don't have another word for this. I understand what this can mean to other people in their perspective, in their reality, in their actual existence.
What a perfect example to show how to be respectful and mindful and intentional.
And also coming back to the concept of the compassionate, like choosing the compassionate over the harmful choice, thinking about the concept of respecting each other's pronouns. Is it really harmful to you to not use someone's preferred pronouns? No.
Or is it just really showing how stuck and stubborn you are in your own programming?
That is, yeah. And that's the detachment as well. I don't understand why you would have a problem with it. I really cannot boil down to, besides like the old way of thinking and whatever, but like I cannot understand why it would be a fucking bother to you what people decide to use, what pronouns they decide to use. But that is a process in detaching from their reality. They are choosing to identify however they are choosing to identify. Who cares? You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to practice it yourself. But what you do need to do is respect their existence. Just as much as you would want them to respect your existence, whatever that may look like. That's the reciprocity that we're looking for.
Yeah.
It doesn't always need to be a tally mark tit for tat. I did this for you, you did that for me, and now we're and that's reciprocal. No, it's the concept that I can like hearing and accepting that other people have different values, not necessarily aligned with like aligning with yours in that way of acceptance, but accepting and hearing someone else's values or opinions does not devalue your own. That's all anyone ever wants, is to be seen, heard, and accepted. That does not mean we agree. We just say, you exist. Your thoughts are your thoughts, and they have value. Your feelings have value. Why? I just don't understand why it's so difficult.
I got it. It's because the people who struggle to show respect are the ones who yearn for it the most. And right, we've all kind of woken up to this whole like opposite day on earth concept where everything we thought we knew was the truth and got flipped upside down. We are like in the upside down, but like a prettier version of the upside. I've been watching the fairy version. I've been rewatching Stranger Things. What a trip! I love it
so much. Wait, real quick, can I plug another show that I'm obsessed with?
Yeah,
Silo.
Ooh, I haven't heard of it.
I'm just gonna leave that here. Go watch Silo.
Okay, I'll have a good plug.
But anyway, the upside down.
Well, no, the people that yearn for respect the most are the ones who struggle to give it.
Which is so crazy because let's fucking boil it down. The ones who are craving the most respect are the ones that get the most respect out of our societal patriarchy.
Well, once upon a time, not in the world I live in.
Not in the world that we're creating right now.
I witnessed it in the parallel world that some of you all live in.
Correct.
I am like not, yeah.
But it's those people who have been hungry for power because they've been in power and they like... Think of the patriarchy. Think of those in charge. Think greed comes from those who already have it.
Oof.
You're not greedy when you're poor. You're trying to get on your feet. You're greedy when you have enough. So those who are not giving respect because they want respect are those who already fucking have respect and are just greedy for more.
They have respect from those that mirror them.
Yes. Or have forced respect because of the systems we have in place. It's false respect. which is probably why they're craving more respect. So they're being disrespectful because they feel like they don't have respect.
And they're ultimately being fed by fear
I'm
of
like,
others.
we need some kind of game for this episode where how many times we say respect. Every time we say respect, I don't know.
Take a deep breath.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Oh my God. Well, speaking of respect, I want to kind of pivot real quick.
Pivot.
And share a little bit about this past week. It is Friday. Starting on Monday, I have done no TV, no social media. And brought to you by my best friend, Emma. I was sitting and journaling about how I want to do a tea break. And since I started smoking, I have never taken a break.
Never?
Never. Maybe like a day or two, like when I just didn't have it, but never.
Wow.
And I'm in this concept of, I've struggled with the OCD most of my life. And
no way. Just kidding.
surprise. Could you have guessed? And smoking is what allows my brain to go, it's okay to relax. Because if I don't, then I never realized it was anxiety that I've experienced. I literally have only realized this the past couple months that I've been experiencing anxiety, because my anxiety doesn't manifest in fear. It manifests in anger. And when I'm feeling physically uncomfortable from anxiety, I get angry.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't fucking like this. So when I'm trying to relax at the end of the day, or like have a slow morning, my body feels anxious because I'm not being productive, because there's not that compulsive behavior to do. And so I always used weed as a way to like allow my brain to say it's okay to relax. And I do still stand strong that that is a good medicine for me. I do not feel I abuse it. I do not feel that it does. I mean, of course, it's going to make me snack a lot more than I need to snack.
But you're still functional.
But I'm still functional, and I really only do it when everything's done. So I told myself I'm going to take a tea break, but then I was talking to Emma, and she was like, literally seconds after I finished that sentence writing it, she was like, you know, I'm thinking I want to take a break from everything. Substances, podcasts, TV, literally everything besides music. She's taking a break from right now as well. So she inspired me. I figured my tea break needs to be longer, so I'm not taking the tea break right now. One thing at a time. But I have not watched TV or been on social media for 5 days. And I will tell you, there has been those inklings to be like, God, it's late. I just want to relax. I don't feel like reading. I've been reading to damn kids all day. I don't want to read. But I've pushed through. And what I found is like respect for my time. Because whereas my brain would say, if you're not going to watch TV, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And you're going to make sure you do that and this and that. And I told myself, you're not filling your time right now. You are just eliminating something. Do not fill it unless it feels natural. And I've been coming home and coloring, and I have been reading. But I'll also tell you, I have been spending a lot of time staring at the ceiling.
Yeah.
And it has felt incredible, because where I think I'm decompressing because I'm watching TV, I am just distracting myself, which sometimes is fine and it's needed. I'm not saying I'm never going back to TV, but those moments of stillness when I would watch TV, I felt like, oh God, I have to respect this moment of stillness, or this moment of quiet. I shouldn't say stillness. So I need to talk about my feelings with Andrew. I'm like, oh God, let's check in. We actually have a moment where there's no screens. Let's talk about this, and let's get really deep, and let's ask questions. And remember that TikTok where it said, like, ask these questions to your partner, like, you know, like fucking shit like that. And because I had so much stillness, I felt like there was nothing that needed to be said. And I just sat there and watched my cats and laughed. And it felt like we were like, not that we were together as teenagers, but it felt like we were teenagers again, just like sitting on the couch being silly.
Not a care in the world.
Not a
no
care
bills,
in the world.
no cleaning chores. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. I feel like I was telling myself that I'm so exhausted from work, I can't do anything. I have to lay on the couch. I'm burnt out, which sometimes is true. But when I took TV out and I was like, well, what am I going to do? I was like, well, I guess I could do the dishes while Andrew cooks. I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. What else am I doing? I'm just sitting here. Might as well do something. And so like I am doing more things without it having to be forced. Oh, Tara, you have an hour to do all your chores. So that way you can relax for 4 hours. Like, so with self-respect comes respecting your time. And we talk a lot about what are you consuming in media and all of that, but also just like, what are you distracting yourself with? Can you really, I feel like I have never been more present than I have been this week. And the 1 or 2 times where I was like, okay, Andrew, maybe we can like just play that video game we play together or just watch like 1 episode. The TV would turn on and the light from it, the TV itself, I was like, I felt like a freaking like vampire. I was like, turn it off. I was like, actually, no. And also I'm realizing how much sleep I need.
Yep.
I'm like, why am I falling asleep at 9 and still getting up at like 7? Which I know it's not a lot of sleep, right? That's probably about an average. But I would be going to bed at like 11, 12 and then trying to force myself up at like 6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I actually need more. I'm like eating better. I don't know. It's just, if you could take a break from screens and only listen to this podcast, I suggest it.
I love that you brought up staring at the ceiling because that was something I brought up during like one of our first episodes. We were talking about our practices and I was like, I don't know. I just stare at the wall because I did not own a TV for like the last 14 years.
Which is crazy to me.
Very crazy. And so everything you're experiencing is like the way I lived for so long. And now my life is so intertwined with someone else that that doesn't happen anymore. And it's a good reminder to just give yourself time to putz around, do your chores while you're dancing to some good music. And yeah, if you could just go stare at the wall or ceiling for an hour, whether you have music on or not, it is the most cathartic experience. It really does bring you back to you. And then next level, go stare at yourself in the mirror. It's Friday night. That's my favorite activity to do on a Friday night.
I was talking about it for like 30 minutes before. Little mirror work.
Yeah. Makes me want to wiggle my butt.
I'm like, the only other thing I can think about to talk about respect, because I feel like it's definitely a lot of self-respect is key here. When we respect ourselves, it's easier to respect others. But I also feel, and I may have talked about this in another episode as well, but the need to respect and have a reciprocal, I'm getting to it. Have a reciprocal relationship with the universe, with your guides, with whatever you're connecting to and whatever modality you're using. I've mentioned before when I pull cards for myself, sometimes I pull cards for those who are giving me the answers through the cards.
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you feeling? What can I do to make your mission helping me a little bit easier? When we ask for manifestations, we tend to set altars or things because it's offerings. We're saying, here's something for you in reciprocity for what you're bringing to me. We leave things like tobacco or cornmeal for our ancestors to say, thank you for what you're guiding me through. So remembering that everything seen and unseen deserves reciprocity and respect.
And so it is.
And so it is. Are you happy now, Candle?
It's so interesting because the theme for this episode came through during a dance class on Thanksgiving morning with our beloved Jocelyn. And I was like, Tara, It was the title, Respect. Find out what it means to you, because it is so important to reflect on what it means to you. And similarly to what Tara has mentioned before, and how you receive the messages through signs and symbols, you assign the meaning. And when you start to have clarity as to what it means to you, you get to see it play out. And when you get to see things play out, life kind of feels like a play. It feels like theater or TV, right? You don't have to watch the TV because your life is actually playing out like that, which is hilarious because Tara's personal life has felt like a TV show this last week.
Literally. And I can't get into that, but like,
no. And, I mean, any of y'all who are watching from space, like, you're welcome for that episode of Tara's life this past week. They're like, bitch. I'm just thinking about that half a burrito I got in my fridge right now.
Oh, damn.
There's a vegan burrito spot in Alberta that is so good, so fresh. They make tortilla chips every day. And the people who work there are the sweetest.
It's so funny. We had quesadillas for dinner.
All right.
One other thing I wanted to say in regards to like what came through as you were sharing was learning what respect means to you. I think starts or can start with understanding your self-worth. What is your time worth? What is your love and energy worth? Because we're all worth a lot more than we're taught. And once we understand our self-worth, then we can understand the reciprocity of respect that we require in order to feel accepted, seen, valued, and have that reciprocity. No more will people be knocking on my door for my help and not even ask how I'm doing. Like, I would
or
love
do
to
you
help.
have the capacity to hear what?
Right. Or even ask, do you have the space and time to hear or hold space for me?
Yep.
No more is that allowed in my reality. Because I know what I'm worth. And I know that I'm worth more than someone just dumping their things on me. I am worth the reciprocity of I have the opportunity when needed to dump my things on you too. Because I know you got my back the same way I have yours. That's what I'm looking for. And before I thought I was worthy of that, I gave everyone everything. Because I felt like they needed it and I didn't. And we all deserve reciprocity and respect.
I love that this theme is happening right now because I had another DEI call yesterday and it was all about self-worth. And one thing that really resonated with me was, you know, the idea of what can you do for someone else? Do you find value in what you do for other people? Is that what validates you? And can you just show up authentically and feel like that is enough? And we have not been programmed that way. We have not really given ourselves space to show up in that way. And it's something I'm really intentionally doing in my life that we'll see how it plays out and how it ripples out for other people feeling inspired to do that. But I wanted to really articulate that the days of what can you do for me is over. That's not how we're operating any longer. Leadership is changing. It's going to happen. And you're going to kind of blink your eyes and be like, whoa, I'm so happy things have evolved to the way that they are. While also seeing that they're playing out in their old ways, right? Because sometimes old paradigms have to really play out to like the most extreme level before they can really like poof. Vanish.
Because the first step to realize, like to change, is realizing that something's wrong. And in order to realize that something's wrong, you need to see and feel how wrong it is. So all this time that we have been living in disrespect of ourselves and others, it's just been the norm. And now we're starting to realize how terrible it feels to live in that space of disrespect, of disharmony, of low self-worth, and we're like, oh, maybe I want something different, but we don't know that we want something different until we actually can see the disrespect and go, well, it's not that.
Yeah.
That's not what I want. And then we can start to think about, well, what is it that I want to birth? And that's, I think, the space that we're in right now, this time of no time, is because we're seeing all the things. And don't get me wrong, it's not like we all just woke up. We've been seeing that things have not been working, but it is blatantly clear that it is not working. And that's what's going to allow us to go, okay, well, what is another option now? We have not yet solidified what this new leadership might look like in its entirety. We have not solidified what this new way of exchange energetically and maybe financially, or the way we exchange thoughts and ideas and materials can look like. So we're in this space of, I know for a fact now that this doesn't work, but what can it become? And that's a beautiful place to be in. So in this dissonant time where we're still trying to gather our footing, learn our self-worth. I know what you just said, I'm going to try the understanding of, because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. I find value in what I can give other people.
Well, hold on. This is actually playing off what we talked about last week, which is how can I be of service? And it's been this back-ass way of us giving our all and depleting ourselves and not being true to who we really are, but true to the program. And so that's really, it's a flip it and reverse it of how am I being of service that's true to me? Because when it's true to me, it'll be true to others.
So I'm going to try to definitely change my perspective of, because I see to this day how my value of myself is played out or calculated based on what I can give others and what I can do for others. I'm so good at my job because I could do X, Y, Z. I'm such a good friend because I do this for you. You know, I'm such a good partner because I do this for Andrew.
But here's what that is when it's integrated and you know this about yourself, you've gone through that exercise. That's integrated inherent value. You know your value and you don't have to go through proving it.
Right.
Because it just is.
Right. And I feel like I'm in the precipice of that.
Yep.
Because I understand my value, but there's still those little hooks in me sometimes where I'm like, oh God, if I don't show up, then I'm not as important. I'm not as valued. I'm not as worthy. When really me existing is worthy. Me in my authentic self, just breathing is worthy of respect, of acceptance, of reciprocity, of happiness. So that perspective switch is something I'm really going to examine as well. So thank you for bringing that up.
My pleasure. I'm like, what were we just talking about?
Who knows? Respect? Tally it. How many times? Comment below how many times we said respect.
How many times you took a deep breath?
That's right. Because that's what we were supposed to be doing. Okay, we'll respect your time because I'm about done.
Me too.
We love you
so much.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.
Do 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 do.